Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 11th day of November 2019. There's my notes. I was looking for my astrological notes here for today, so I can share with you what I found here. It's like, what did I do with that? Where did that go on my screen? Anyhow, good morning again. I have not finished the correspondences yet. They should go up here shortly after in fact, I'll probably do it while I watch this to make sure it's okay before I post it. So I'll probably just go ahead and do the correspondences at that time. I got involved in other things last night. I was out looking at the moon, and it was a lot of fun, and it wasn't particularly cold either. So we're going through a weird weather time right now. It's kind of gloomy today here, but I don't know. Today's an 11:11 gateway, a portal, if you will. Some people are calling it an ascension portal. Just kind of depends on your persuasion, I guess. I think we can get, too caught up in the verbiage and just understand that we have a energetic event today. It's not as wonderful as 11/11/11 was, but that won't happen for a long, long time to come again. So, and we won't be here. So, anyhow, 11s are about our master number for illumination and awakening, and so that's why a lot of people are calling it an ascension portal, given its strength, its dual strength of two 11s in it. So be aware that over this time, also, we have a full moon tomorrow. We're in the maiden phase right now. And so to have the 11/11 today is to begin the maiden phase is, it's really synchronous with the whole maiden energy of new beginnings and whatnot. So you can work some magic along those lines today if you prefer. I don't like to do it on the full moon. I actually prefer the crone phase, but if I have something specific regarding new beginnings, then I might do something today. Another thing you can do at the moment of the full moon, actually before, if you start in the minute before or even 30 seconds before, you could do a triple phase, triple goddess type or triple aspect type working. Where it's beginning, fulfillment, and ending, if you wanted to do something like that tomorrow. I don't know what time the full moon starts. I did know that, but I don't at this point, so I'll let you know tomorrow what time that's going to happen. Maybe I can actually find out now. Let me look real quick here. Let me pull up one piece of software and see if it tells me, full moon at 5:34 a.m. my time, so Pacific Standard Time. So yeah, so it's going to be full all day. So we're right now in the, fully into the maiden phase now. So again, magics of new beginnings. If you want to work something like that right now, you can do that. The sun's in the 11th house in Scorpio, so still passionate, interactions with others, avoid manipulation and deception. Sun conjunct Mercury, you might receive some positive news today, but irrespective of that, just know that ideas are going to flow today for you, and you're going to and confidence is going to be high. Sun is all about, the self, and Mercury's about communication. So they've got an easy, supportive experience there. Sextile Pluto with the sun, again, reinforcing clear expression. There's a little bit of trine with Neptune, and which brings insight and intuitiveness and also an artistic flair to the day. Moon is in earthy Taurus in the 5th house, so routine has its place today, but allow some time to play and interact with others. A sesquisquare, which is hard to say, but just know there's a type of square, so, kind of argument a little bit, or a little tense moment, may need to demonstrate some self-control today. Jupiter is expansive, and so, it can be just such that you have to kind of watch how carried away you get today with others. Mercury, again, couple things with Mercury. Mercury's in retrograde, but I think today is the day where, and you need, I guess, a telescope to see it. And I have one, but it doesn't work. I can't find all my things. I actually just need to it's old, so I just need to buy a new one. And had I done that, then I could have watched my husband and I could have watched Mercury transiting across the face of the sun. You have to have a filter, a solar filter on it. You can't just sit and stare at it, obviously. But in any event, you will probably be able to watch that online happen. And so it doesn't happen very often. It takes a long, long time before it'll happen again. And so it's kind of cool that it's happening today, especially given that Mercury is the planet of communication. But in the 11th house of Scorpio, still, we're looking at intense communication. It is in retrograde. Communications can suffer. So, they can go awry. Don't buy any, and still, it's in retrograde till 20th, so don't be buying any electronics unless you absolutely have to. Don't sign contracts. That's that same stuff. Also, I noticed in the aspects when I was looking today, it's parallel the sun. And there's no information on it in my astrology software, but I have to say, I suspect that's its transit across. And so it's just going to be moving across that whole illumination. And so illumination and communication, so could align well with the 1111 ascension gate or portal or what have you, awakening and all of that. So in terms of our communication. Venus and Sagittarius in the 12th house still, again, focusing on relationships, adventuresome social life, explore the unknown, square with Neptune. Yeah, you could be a little indecisive, so kind of get your head out of whatever experience you're in if you're not feeling comfortable or you're not being able to make a decision about something. Just walk away from it a little bit. Go find something else completely different to do if you experience that. Just take a moment, take a time out. And just shift your attention to something completely opposite of what you're doing, not at all what you're doing. So, and get your head out of it, and then you'll likely come back to it and be able to make a decision then. Let's see, Mars in Libra and the 10th house, still watch your tone at work. Sextile Jupiter, though, with Mars, new beginnings are possible, or if you've been in the process of starting something new, a project or something, like at work or what have you, that could really get going today. So I guess let me say a couple more things. We've got both, and this doesn't always happen. We have Leo and Aquarius are intercepted, Leo in the 8th, Aquarius in the 2nd house. So attention from others. Leo needs to have attention. They need to shine. Okay, the sun rules Leo, and you have to shine. And that's and an interception. And if that's involved in an interception, that's just suppressed. And so nobody's really paying too much attention to you today. And Aquarius, your originality may suffer. And the other thing too, given the 2nd and 8th houses, you're looking at self-worth that may be at issue today, and also maybe, particularly if it surrounds possessions or money or what have you. Sometimes we derive our self-worth through that, through what we own, and those are theoretically temporary, and if that's how we're deriving our self-worth, then you can see how that's just not really going to do well today if we focus on that, or if we're not aware of that. The duplicated signs, so we also have 2 duplicated signs, Sagittarius and Gemini, and we're looking at them on the 6th and 7th houses and the 11th and 12th houses. I think Sagittarius is on the 11th and 12th. Anyway, this is basically telling us that we might have some pressure. It's like, where do we place our focus, work or home? So something's going to suffer either way in something like that, and it's basically also telling us that we need a career where we can express creativity and originality. So anyhow, those are I just wanted to mention a few of the issues going on astrologically here before we got started. And let's see, again, 11 energy, both for the month and the day. So again, lots and lots of awakening and illumination this week. Only magnified by tomorrow's catalytic full moon. It's going to be, I guess, in Taurus. And so an earth sign. But, I think that it's going to shine a light, the full moon's going to shine a light on issues of foundation in our world, just the world around us. And so I think, you know, as we all know, this week in Congress, a lot's going to come out. The public hearings are going to come into play. So you can see how this is a week where truth is going to be revealed. In other words, the full moon is going to shine so bright that we can't ignore anything anymore. Also, today's Veterans Day in this country, so not all veterans want to be thanked for their service. I will tell you that. Some just wish to forget that they were there, you know, especially if they're having to negotiate with the federal government for things they should not have to negotiate for. My husband's a veteran, Vietnam era veteran, and he does not define himself as a veteran. It's not the most important thing in his life. It is a part of his life. He's a disabled veteran, so he deals with the VA all the time and the federal government. And although he doesn't really have the issues that other people have had, we did in the beginning. But then it all got worked out, and because we went to the right person, and she handled it all, and thank you, Darlene, for everything you did there. And that was when the kids were little, because we didn't have insurance, and we should have, you know. So it was just one of those things. I had to pay for my youngest son. I had 2 C-section. I had to pay for him out of pocket, and I had to sell a truck to do it. Then after that, I just didn't believe, you know, and so I just kept looking, and I found this woman, and she fixed everything for us. But not every veteran has a Darlene to go to, and we didn't know we had one. So I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, if you know about a veteran that maybe needs some help getting to doctor's appointments or all of that, and you can at all help, offer to do that. Offer more than a simple thank you for their service. Our veterans' needs are not being served, even now, and we need to hang in there with them and make sure that happens. So in any event, let's go ahead, and we've chatted enough. Lots of things to talk about this morning to get started with. Let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards and see what we have for today. And if it's your first time here, thank you so much for coming by. Welcome. And if you have come back, thank you so much. It's lovely to see everyone today. So let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. I should do the 11th card each time in honor of the 11th day, but I'm going to continue to take the 13th. It's just for randomness sake. It's nothing anyone has to do. For regular readings, I just lay cards out. So, well, we start out with a Page of Swords, so definitely new message. With an 11-11 energy. I don't know. What are we going to find out? I read first that reports were out that Lieutenant Colonel Vindman was fired, essentially. I mean, he's active duty, so he can't really be fired, but he can be removed from the position. And then I saw Jim Acosta came out and tweeted, "Oh, no, false alarm." So, I don't know. You can't. So this is why we have a whistleblower law. You know, just because he doesn't have whistleblower status, we have strength, the 8th card of the major arcana. Just because he doesn't have whistleblower status doesn't mean, or any of these people have not claimed whistleblower status, doesn't mean that they shouldn't be treated that way. Nobody should be fired for telling the truth here. And nobody should be separated from their duties for telling the truth. And that's what's happening. They feel like they either have to resign or they're being forced out or whatever it is. But and then suddenly the dude in the Oval Office doesn't know them anymore. Really? You hired him. Of course you know him. Especially that one guy that spent $1 million of his own money to buy his way into that ambassadorship. Yeah, you know him. So hopefully we won't see anything like that happening today, especially for Colonel Vindman, because he's a patriot and he's a hero. He told the truth, no matter what it's going to cost him. So here we have the Ten of Wands, sort of like Colonel Vindman walking uphill with all his many burdens, but he's carrying the burdens of the country, isn't he? Well, I'm going to set those over there, I think. Well, I do have room here. Okay. I always worry that I'm going to knock my cards on the floor, and then I'm going to have to pick them up in case I need to do a fourth card. I don't think I'm going to need to, though. I think we're going to put Strength in the middle. We'll just leave everything the way that it is. Let's see, there we go. I hope I didn't vanish on you there, because it's sort of everything went down and all my windows came up. I don't know how these things happen to me. But in any event, let's go ahead and look at the Page of Swords. And let's bring this back up, because I lost everything there. So we see the swords, which is the air element. It's the suit of swords. Pages from the court. It signifies a youthful individual. It could also signify a message. It can be a student, a seeker, a news bearer. Sometimes it means the birth of a child or a pregnancy, but in this case, usually though, that it's because it's interacting with other cards when you can see that. You know, if you had say the Empress with it or something, you might be thinking fertility. So you might think news of a birth or a pregnancy. But here, with the swords and the air element, you're talking intellect. You're talking awakening, awareness. Sometimes intuition is assigned to swords. Sometimes it's assigned to water. Sometimes it's assigned to fire. I mean, basically, we're talking about awareness when we talk about intuition, so it can take varying forms. You know, we can think of it as empathic, and that's usually the water element. But again, it just depends on how you see it. Intuition can be as fiery as it is anything else. But we see the clouds behind depicting maybe a little bit of illusion or something that's unknown. And so I really think that we're talking about either a new direction. He's kind of leaning into the future. So we're talking about maybe a new direction taken with whatever message he brings. We're going to look at strength last. Here we have new beginnings here. With the 10, we have it's a 1 energy. Unity, wholeness, new beginnings. He's carrying his burden, but at the same time, he's got many things going on. If you think of wands, the staffs are wands, and so if you think of wands as the fire element, you're talking about will and creativity. You're also talking about, I'm going to go and see if there's something else here that I've forgotten about this. Let me go to where. Yeah, it's about prioritizing your commitments. You've got a bit of a struggle here, but it's in service of something new. It's almost like all your ducks are in a row with this card. And but in a negative sense, it can also mean limited awareness and vision and too much happening all at once. But at the same time, even though he's moving forward and he's moving forward toward the town, so moving forward toward his commitments, there's so many, they're just sort of driving his way forward, and he doesn't really even need to see. But at the same time, you know, there's still that aspect of limited vision. Now, I think we're gonna turn that around. We're gonna put that first. We're gonna start out in limited vision, and then we're gonna end with the page and have the new way forward because of new awakening. Here we have the 8th card of the major arcana, which is strength. We see the woman clothed in a white gown. We see the lemnis skate above her head. It's the infinity symbol. She's basically taming the wild within. This is about trust, trusting in a higher power. Your major cards are soul archetype cards, and so you're basically talking about higher self issues, you know, the kinds of things that we need to be thinking about as we express ourselves into form. The court and the minor arcana cards, the small cards, all, you know, the cards in the different suits, that's basically how we make our way. Those are the details of our lives, but these are the overall principles that we live by. It's a card of as above, so below. We see a mountain in the distance suggesting strength, but we also see abundance by the rose garlands she's wearing in her hair and around her, well, kind of around the middle of her there, sort of draped around there. And we see the lion, and she's lovingly petting its head, and it's just, happy as heck to be with her. But you want to talk about unconditional love, unconditional trust, trusting in higher self-presence, trusting in the message of spirit. You're really talking about that's really what this is. This is a higher level purpose. And so I really think that this is aligning really well with the notion of the 1111 portal or gateway. You're looking at a double dose, basically, a reinforced sense of illumination and awakening today, allowing the higher self to control the situation, blending, spirit with ego in a way that spirit controls the process and spirit is controlling the outcome. We may be blinded by some overwhelming commitments and a lot of information that's coming in today, a lot of truth that's carrying us forward, a lot of stuff going on to begin this week. But whatever it is, whatever the struggle that takes place as we struggle to hear all of this stuff, I think that it's going to portend a new way forward. And that's what we've been seeing throughout all of the readings that we've been doing. Last year was an 11 year. And so a lot of stuff came out, didn't it? We had another election where balance of power in Congress was shifted to where we could actually start, going forward on what needs to happen here and learning the truth of what's been actually going on since this guy took office. And actually, it's really been since before he did, because a lot of this stuff took place before all the groundwork for it was laid. And so we really have to understand that, the strength, the card of strength, we're talking about an 8 energy, and that's definitely higher self-harmony and awareness. It's a sense of leadership that takes into account the whole greater aspect of everything that's going on, and not just having the focus be on a specific outcome, but simply on bringing out the truth. You see, the outcome phase doesn't happen until the Senate gets involved. So all of these things that you're hearing about how the House is not allowing this and not allowing, Mr. Trump to have a lawyer. He's got all the lawyers he wants. Right now, this is the investigative phase. This is like when the police are doing the investigation. The detectives are going around and they're knocking on doors and they're talking to people and they're gathering a case for the district attorney to decide whether or not, are we going to take it to the grand jury? Are we going to, basically that's what we're in right now. That's the phase we're in right now, where we're trying to decide whether or not we refer this over for indictment or for prosecution, rather. Are we going to indict and then are we going to prosecute, you see? And the Senate is who does the prosecution. The Senate trial will decide his fate. All that's happening now is we're gathering the facts. That's all this is. So all of this bluster you hear is just lies. Align in source presence, align in Isa. Again, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. Allow the gateway to open for you to illumination and awakening and truth. This is aligning in the stillness within with Isa, where we bring everything to a still point and we block out the noise and we allow higher self to inform us to where we know when the truth is resonating. We might not want to believe it, particularly if we support this man, but trust me on this. These people have no agenda other than to give the American people the truth. And I know that he has confused everybody from the get-go, talking about fake news, fake this, fake that. Problem is the only person pushing that is him. And I know that that's going to be difficult, but we need this 11:11 awakening, to, especially this week. You have to wonder, do they have an astrologer on staff? I mean, are they Are they looking at the particular timing, or is this just unfolding? Is higher self taking over here and causing all of this to unfold the way that it is at the timing that it's doing it? Because the synchronicity involved in all of this is astonishing. It's just astonishing. Let me grab my, the weekly Rune and Moon is up, so if you want to check that out over at the blog, I need to get my geomancy runes here so I can see what our geomancy rune is for today. It'd be interesting if it was via. No, it's populous. Well, it's Via's counterpart. It's populous. And instead of single dots, we're going to be working with all passive energy today. Again, it does align with Isa. When you align in source presence, you just surrender. Think the hangman. Think what that looks like and what that's about. That's also about surrender, isn't it? But this is what populace looks like. This is the water element. And it describes going along with the flow or going along with the crowd. Whereas with Vaya, you pave your new path. And we had that several times, I think, last week, or at least once. But I thought we had it more than once. Here we have populace, though. And instead of paving our own path, we're just going to sit back and we're going to go with the flow and we're going to listen and we're going to awaken to what we learn. So again, I think that this is actually a really prescient read. I think that on this, I think that the reading itself is talking about the strength within to manage the burdens that we're experiencing with an eye toward a new direction and a new message and new awareness and new truth. The strength within will be required because without it, we're not going to get through it, especially if we're people that are supportive of this man. If this is happening in your personal life, there could be something very big on the horizon happening for you today where or over the course of the week, because it doesn't feel like with this 11/11 energy that this is simply a reading for today. It seems to me that what we're trying to balance is all of this stuff that's coming out that we're learning with some direction forward. And it seems like the awareness, if we pay attention to higher self, if we align in Isa, in our source presence, if we ignore the nonsense going on around us and we just align and know the truth, I think that we're going to find the answers that we need. And it's likely to be a group experience, whatever this is, where we drop resistance and go with the flow, and we understand that there's something greater at work here. So again, whether this is something that is happening to you in your personal life or whether this is reflective of what's going to happen this week in the country, unfortunately, this has affected everyone in the country, even those who say, oh, I don't pay any attention to this. Well, relationships may still be constrained that you're coping with, and maybe you're just trying to turn a blind eye to it and not pay it any attention, but at some point the chickens are going to come home to roost, and we're going to have to see, especially when the smoke clears and we see what damage has been done after all is said and done, and all of this is resolved one way or another, whether it's resolved by impeachment and throwing him out, which the vice president's going to have to go with him because he's just as involved. So is the Secretary of State, Secretary of Energy, Chief of Staff, all of those people, they have to go. You can't commit crimes. You can't do that. I don't know. I don't know why this is so difficult. I realize, when you haven't been in, your party's not the one in power, and you get back there, it's tempting to try to stay there at any cost. And that's true in our personal lives. Suddenly when you find yourself in a position of authority, you might express that, in whatever way you need to maintain it. You're doing so because you're in fear. You're living in fear, and you're not understanding that this is just your position right now. Make the best of it, embrace others within it, do the right thing, make it the best it can be. But instead, what happened here, the last thing you want to do is emulate what's going on in the government and express your authority that way. If you have the ability to make an effect out in the world, to cause a positive effect out in the world, don't choose the opposite. Choose the positive effect. Use the strength within that's manifested here by the strength card, and understand that you have to tame the ego, and it has to be something that lives in service to spirit and not something that is in loggerheads with spirit and trying to usurp the power of spirit or even the awareness of spirit. Because so much of what you see now is life lived in service to self and in service to ego, and not at all in service to the greater understanding of what's going on. Even the 10 of Wands, illustrates that, living in service to the truth, living in service to the greater commitment to other people. That's really what this is talking about. So cool. Again, this is maiden energy right now. Again, if you want to work some magic, think about new beginnings. If you want to think about doing something to create on behalf of veterans, you could do something like that. If you set intentions at the new moon, you can tomorrow on the full moon bring those to fruition. But then again on the crone moon on Wednesday, if you want to spend some time talking with the goddess, it is a Wednesday, so you've got some Mercury energy there. Mercury's in retrograde, so you might as well talk with the dark goddess. Who else is going to listen anyway and understand what you're saying? So, give Hecate a try, and, or maybe Lilith, and have a little conversation, although Hecate might be a little more reliable. Lilith just probably wants to, kick ass and take names, basically. And so Hecate, on the other hand, may be a little more, prudent in her vision here, but you might want to have a conversation with her on Wednesday about bringing the hostile and negative forces that divide us to a halt. So in other words, you could, on that evening, do a binding and bind energies together to either to stop their effect, or you could conversely bind energies together to bring all in harmony and to end the division that's between us. So you could, in a sense, bind us all together in unity of purpose, shared purpose, and in full activation of the 1111 gateway. You see, bindings don't have to be used in a negative way, do they? Anyhow, you have to be careful with those, though. You're basically inserting your will above others, and that's a tough one for some witches. It's a tough one for me, but occasionally it has to be necessary. And so when we can make use of awakening and illumination, sometimes it's nice to just bind all that together. So think about that. See how that resonates. Maybe you might do that. I'm thinking I'm going to. So in any event, thanks so much for coming by. Check out the blog over at imsteppingaside.com. It's called Stepping Aside. The correspondences and astrological information will go up today. That is done at noon. I did this information for 9:30 today. So what I gave today was effective as of that time. I'll be looking to see if there's any other, things going on in the sky as well. But I do the ones for the correspondences for today. I do those based on the noon hour. So it might change a little bit from what we're talking about here today, because sometimes things do move hourly or every 2 hours. And so in any event, the skies are never still, folks. They just aren't. Everything always changes. Everything's in flux. So some may stick around for a while, but just know they too will change. So 5 retrogrades today, and when Mercury's done, we'll have 4 still, likely. So I have to look. They will end eventually, but some of these retrogrades from some of the outer planets, they last a long time, months and months and months and months. I think what is it? Is Jupiter still in retrograde? No. One of them goes out, I think, in December. So, and it's been in all year long, pretty much. So I don't remember which one that is. But in any event, I guess that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Again, check out the correspondences and astro information over there. Check out the weekly Rune and Moon and that's a little different take. It's not what we do here. It's using human design and numerology and runes and astrological moon positions and, stuff like that, some correspondences to create sort of a picture. It's rune based, it's element based, it's and human design based. It's I Ching. So with that, it's I Ching based, and so it's interesting. Um, I did it. I started a few months ago, and I like it, and so I've been doing it. It's just kind of fun. Anyway, check that out over there, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again for coming by. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.